So how does pain work? This video will specifically look at the transmission in acute pain, or in medical terms, nociceptive pain. There are essentially 3 steps in the pain transmission and response. It begins with a stimulus, like heat from a flame of a candle. Upon detection of the stimulus, information is relayed as a signal to the brain, whereby a response is then elicited, like removing the hand away from the flame of the candle. To begin, we will look at the stimulus. A noxious stimulus essentially means something that causes pain. A noxious stimulus is typically mechanical, chemical, or thermal in nature. Examples of such stimuli include a needle, broken glass, corrosive chemicals, or heat from the flame of a candle. Upon interaction with a noxious stimulus, pain neuronal pathways become activated and will trigger the relay of information. Nerve fibres are distributed across your body. The free nerve endings of some of these nerve fibres make up a specialised sensory receptor at your body's periphery. This is called a nociceptor. Nociceptors detect this noxious stimulus. The nerve fibres involved in the pain physiological pathway and make up nociceptors are called primary afferent fibres, specifically A delta and C fibres. A delta fibres are responsible for fast, sharp and diffused pain, whereby the pain is felt like it is localised to an area, whereas C fibres are responsible for slow, dull and diffuse pain, whereby the pain is felt like it is widespread. Nociceptors express various ion channels, which are pores in the membrane that open in response to changes in cell membrane voltage or chemical binding. Once a noxious stimuli has been detected at the nociceptors, they become activated and open these channels. This causes a change in membrane voltage. Once a certain threshold membrane voltage is reached, ion channels, specifically voltage-gated sodium channels, are activated, allowing sodium influx, which generates an electrical impulse termed an action potential. The action potential is relayed as an electrical signal through neurons in ascending pathways, eventually reaching higher brain centers to tell you that you can feel pain. Some of the main ion channels involved, which are also targets for pain medication, include the opioid receptor, specifically the mu-opioid receptor, the GABA receptor, and voltage-gated channels, specifically sodium, calcium, and potassium voltage-gated channels. As these receptors and channels are activated by their ligand binding to the receptor, for example an opioid binding to the receptor, or change in membrane voltage caused by the movement of ions, for example an influx of sodium activating the voltage-gated sodium channel, they will release the specific substance or ion into the synaptic cleft. This will elicit an effect, such as analgesia upon stimulation of the opioid and GABA receptors, or the generation of electrical impulses upon stimulation of the voltage-gated channels, to continue sending the pain signal along the nociceptive pathway, or in other words, the physiological pathway of pain transmission. In the nociceptive pathway, these electrical impulses carry a signal that something is causing pain. This signal needs to travel to higher brain centers to allow a response to be elicited. This process is similar to running in a relay race, whereby a baton is passed through your team to get to the finish line. The baton is the pain signal. It begins with primary afferent fibers that are key in pain transmission and make up nociceptors, entering the spinal cord at the lumbosacral level. These fibers ascend the spinal cord for 1 to 2 segments at the lumbosacral level and will synapse with second-order neurons. When synapsing, the baton must be passed to the next team member, or in other words, pain signal must be relayed to the next set of neurons. Upon synapsing with second-order neurons, the pain signal ascends the spinal cord to the brain stem, terminating at the thalamus of the cerebrum in the brain. It is here where the second-order neurons synapse with third-order neurons to relay the pain signal to the somatic sensory cortex at the postcentral gyrus of the brain. Upon delivering the pain signal to the somatic sensory cortex, it will relay spatial information to the brain, informing the location of this noxious stimulus. This is the ascending pathway, and it controls physical and emotional responses to pain, such as altering blood pressure, inducing alertness, and evoking a pleasurable or uncomfortable response. The descending pathway is responsible for producing an endogenous analgesic effect in response to pain transmission. This is where your body produces substances to dampen the pain response. Upon ascending pain transmission, the periaqueductal grey area of the midbrain is stimulated due to it being near neurons involved in the ascending pathway. Once stimulated, the periaqueductal grey area will activate inhibitory neurotransmitter producing neurons, specifically serotonin and GABA. Serotonin and GABA will inhibit pain transmission. A common feature of acute pain is tissue damage, where you have hurt yourself. Tissue damage can be caused by various things, such as mechanical trauma, like broken glass or a splinter. Upon tissue damage, inflammatory mediators are released, such as histamine, nerve growth factor, glutamate, serotonin, and substance P. Some of these mediators will interact with other inflammatory cascades, such as prostaglandin synthesis, which is involved in vasodilation and increasing body temperature. These mediators can also be targets for pain medication, such as non-steroidal anti-inflammatories such as ibuprofen. Their mechanism of action and role in pain are discussed in the treatment video. In some cases, there is inappropriate detection, processing, and response to a noxious stimuli, meaning there is something wrong at a physiological level. This is seen in chronic and neuropathic pain. Chronic pain is clinically diagnosed when pain is sustained for more than 3 months due to abnormal sensory processing in the nervous system. However, it can persist for longer than this. It is caused by dysfunction of the nervous system, whereby there is prolonged excitability of pain-transmitting neurons. This means that an individual feels pain for a much longer period of time. Those with chronic pain cannot manage their condition with over-the-counter medication like ibuprofen or paracetamol, and may take medication such as antidepressants and opioid analgesics like morphine and other treatment approaches to help manage their condition. Similar to chronic pain, neuropathic pain arises from an underlying disease or condition at the nervous system. There is abnormal pain activity in both the transmission of pain and response to pain. Patients will present with a variety of disease states and symptoms. Common underlying mechanisms of neuropathic pain include nerve remodeling after damage, whereby new sensory connections are formed and causes abnormal patterns of pain activity. Another underlying mechanism is the inappropriate activity and numbers of ion channels, which causes the pain threshold to decrease. This causes channels to open earlier as less activation is required, and therefore pain is felt at a lower threshold than normal. This was covered earlier when discussing nociceptors and generation of action potentials. Examples of neuropathic pain conditions include multiple sclerosis, phantom limb pain, and diabetic neuropathies. Those presenting with neuropathic pain may feel a range of sensations, including stabbing, pins and needles, numb, throbbing, burning, electric shock, and the list goes on. Common features of chronic and neuropathic pain include allodynia, hyperalgesia, and spontaneous pain. Allodynia is when pain is felt upon interacting with a non-noxious, or in other words, non-painful stimulus. Hyperalgesia is when there is an exaggerated pain response upon detection of a noxious stimulus. Spontaneous pain is when pain responses occur randomly and suddenly. There is no stimulus present and new signals are generated to cause a pain response. This is because pain is multifactorial, or in other words, it is a complex condition. There are physiological dysfunctions in which mechanisms involved may be hard to pinpoint to ensure targeted treatment, and there are also disruptions in social and psychological well-being. Pain is subjective. Each individual will experience and respond to pain differently. Moreover, such complexities make it hard to adequately treat and manage pain for all individuals suffering from chronic or neuropathic pain. Because of this, there are different treatment approaches involved in the management of pathophysiological types of pain, and people will often take a combination of treatment approaches including pharmacological, electrical stimulation, and/or cognitive therapy. To support Pain UK, please like their Facebook page, which is Pain UK. Subscribe to their YouTube channel, which is Pain UK. Sign up to become a member at Pain UK, or donate to Pain UK. All relative information about how to further support the cause can be found on their website, which is www.painuk.org.